Hi, I'm Stefan, the BMW DIY guy, and do you want to add interior lighting to your center console in your new M2? I'll show you how. All right, guys, let's talk about this project a little bit and the reasons why you probably want to do this in your car. Now, I am really lucky today. If you can tell, I've got a second M2 here in my garage, and it is an automatic. So this is an upgrade coming from Infinite Autowerks. And this is going to be updating and upgrading the side trim on either side of your shifter. So not only is it going to be adding carbon fiber, it's going to be adding lights. And they're going to be tied into the existing lighting system. So as you select all of your different choices, this will do the same, much like you would see on some of the G23 series and a few of the other models. So if you have an automatic, this is a great way to add an upgrade. Sadly, they don't have one for a manual, but I'm going to walk you through this entire process. So let's jump into the car because we'll be taking your center console apart. Super simple. Let's get started. All right, guys, so I've already pulled one piece off just to show you what it looks like, but we're going to be pulling this whole center console out. So here in your cup holder, you actually have a rubber mat that sits down in there. If you didn't realize that, it has these little tabs. You can get your fingers on it to pull this out. And you have two T20s down here on the bottom. So go ahead and pull both of those because we're going to need to pull your cup holder out. And then back here, this back trim right here, and if it hasn't been off before, it's going to be very, very tight. Do not use metal tools. Use a plastic trim tool, kind of pull this edge back so you can get a plastic trim tool in, slowly work its way in, and then pry backwards, and then it will sit back. You don't necessarily have to unplug it. You can frequently just pull it back here into the armrest space, and then that'll be set. So go ahead and take that back, pull these out, and we're gonna work to take your cup holder out next, and then we can take the center console out. All right, guys, so let's get caught up here. Now, there's a couple of tips and tricks I want to show along the way. Now, I have my cup holder up and out. You don't necessarily have to do that. We'll talk about that as we go through this process. But this back trim, I wanted to have this up so you could actually see. What you want to do is get your plastic trim tool under this lip right here, and that's where you pry up. Not above it, but below it. You get that and it'll pop up. We do that on both sides, and then the trim will come up. What is very, very common is there's a post right here in the center that is very difficult to get out. So it would be nice if we could get this whole trim piece off, but it's not going to. And if you don't necessarily have to. So if you walk this piece up, you can also get to right here. There's two T20s here and here on both sides. So now your shifter assembly is actually loose and we can get wiring underneath it. Once you're there and you have your side trim here, you have your trim up and you have this piece loose, you can get your plastic trim tool under this lead edge right here and walk it down the lip, and your side trim is off. And you can do that on both sides, as you can tell that I've already done on both sides. That's as far as disassembly down through the center column that we need to do. Everything else will fit. You then can take your new trim piece that you have here, but you're going to want to transfer these metal clips, right? So go ahead and walk down all your OEM pieces, pull off these little metal clips and transfer them to the new piece. And then I'm going to walk you through getting those set into place, running our wiring underneath, our wiring harness underneath. We're going to run it down the column over to the footwell. But get caught up to here, and then we'll move forward from there. All right, so once you have these side pieces kind of dry fit into place, you've got the wiring harness run underneath your center console here that, again, you can tip it up. Now, again, this trim here in the center can be really difficult to get off, but the nice thing is you don't have to. We took those two T20s out, we've tipped the shifter up, and we've run our wiring harness underneath here in the back. Now, on the driver's side here, you can go ahead and install this piece. It fits just fine. Make sure that the light driver is onto the fiber tube right here. And make sure it's in securely, because if you don't have it set in well, it can pull out. And then you can put this all back together. Now, I've dry fit this side to make sure that it fits and it plugs in really, really nicely. And then we want to deal with the cup holder. So this is really straightforward. There's a little red tab at the bottom of the cup holder right here. You want to pull that tab out. And then you're going to use a pick tool to undo the little pressure clip right here, and then the plug on the lighter socket or your electrical socket will come out. Same thing for this side. When you look at the USB plug, there's a little locking tab right here. Go ahead and depress that little locking tab and both these will come out. And then we're going to take the cup holder and we're going to pull this shell off and transfer some of the parts to the new lighted piece. But go ahead and get all of that out, and then I'll show you what this looks like as you pull the shell off. All right, so once you have the cup holder out and you've got the USB unplugged and you have the power socket unplugged. Now, some of these things are going to be a little bit easier to show after the fact so you can see the different tabs. Okay, so now the USB port has these big locking tabs. You can see one right here, which will be exposed on the outside that you can see very easily. But then there's also another one on the inside here. So all you want to do is slide down a plastic trim tool, and then this will push up and out of the frame. Now, this actual outer carrier around the cup holder itself, you're going to need to take this off because we're going to need to get to these little drink holder fingers and the springs here that we're going to transfer to the new piece. So there's a single locking tab on this side that you want to get like a plastic trim tool or a pick tool underneath to get it off the lock. And then slide in a plastic trim tool between this outer shell and the cup part itself and pry up gently at first. Now I have it a little bit further back because I've already done the other side. Do the same thing on this side, pry this finger back, get a piece in or get a plastic trim tool in, and then as you can see, it comes off and comes apart like that. So go ahead and set this aside. We're going to be using this here in a second to transfer all of these your little drink holder fingers to the new piece. Then we're going to need to take the power socket itself out. I find it a little bit easier to get out, a little bit easier to get to, just a little bit once you get the shell off. There's a little plastic retaining finger on this side and on this side, and you slowly just have to work this off and it'll come out through the front. All right, guys, so once you get it all transferred, so now the lighter socket or power socket can give you a little bit of a hard time. The two primary things that hold it in is a tab on this side and a matching tab on the other side. And this is pretty inflexible plastic. So what I find is that if I put a very small flat screwdriver on one side of it and just kind of wedge it in there, you can get one side of these fingers out, and then you do the same for the other side and it'll pop out. All right, guys, so let's talk through transferring your little drink retainer fingers. Now, I've already done almost all of them. This is the OEM shell. You're gonna want to take a pick tool here on the narrow end and push the pin out through the top and pull the little flap off. Now, if you notice, there's a little finger right here on the end of the flap. That little finger, so when you transfer this to the new piece, you'll see the finger is here on the outside, and that keeps it from swinging too far forward. Now, where the pins came through from the top on that OEM shell, they'll now come from the bottom. So you just pull the door, you slide the pin in, you line it up with the spring and slide it up. Now, the one other thing you want to notice on the new piece, don't drive the pin all the way up where it's going to hit the light channel. So be very careful. It just needs to go in far enough to get in through the door and the top part of the hinge, but don't drive this in all the way and screw up your new light channel, okay? So I've got one left to do, but I wanted to show you what this looked like. It's really just be patient, pull out the pin, slide it in, and then we're gonna take this and we're gonna transfer it back into the car. So we'll get that next. All right, guys, so once you have all the fingers transferred and this is all good to go, you're going to want to run the wiring harness. It's very easy to run it underneath the side trim right here because we're going to run it up the side into the passenger footwell. I'll get a little bit better lighting there in a second. But run this up underneath. This is going to plug into your new light tracks. You can plug your USB port in, you can plug your power back in, and you can put all of this back together at this point. This is all done. You can slide this trim back down into place. You can put your cup holders back into place, put this back plastic, snap that back up in, and this whole assembly is now completely done. We'll talk about what to do for the lights here in a second, because you're going to do both light runs from both the side trim and for the cup holders. You're going to run this over to the passenger side footwell, but let's talk about that in just a second. All right, y'all, so we have this kick panel off. There's two twist locks, one here, one here. There's some little hooks on the back so you pull it out and down, and you have your footwell light right here. And this is what we're going to use to connect. Now, this is the original run that comes down here to the light. And then you have the two new runs coming down from both the trim and the cup holders. So this is the point where you're gonna want to set up a coding or programming appointment with Infinite Autowerks. So what they're gonna need to do is they're gonna need to reinitialize some of the body domain controllers here in your car for it to recognize that it has these new lights. Because when you first plug these in, don't be surprised they don't work. It's not that you did something wrong, the car needs to know that they're there. So make sure to set up that appointment with them. You'll need a laptop. They will remote to your laptop, and you'll plug your laptop into the car. and then they will be able to remote code everything. Now we've done all of that here, so all the remote coding is done. We've made that appointment, and then you just daisy chain these together. So both of these cable runs come down, they plug into each other, and then you plug in the original light run here, and then you plug it into the light here, and then it's all going to work. At that point, all of the physical installation is done. So this piece, you'll just take it up, slide it back in. These hooks go into little tabs here in the back, and then turn those twist locks up into place. And then your installation is completely done. Now I want to show you what it looks like, so let me get that fired up. Go ahead and clean up, put your tools away. All right, so as you can see, everything's working, looks just great. Now here, kind of off camera, we can switch colors. So let's go up, let's try citrine or yellow. Yeah, I love it. This looks absolutely great. I love the carbon fiber. Ties into the central console really, really well. Looks really good. And the install on this isn't really all that hard. It's just kind of detailed. So go ahead and clean up, put your tools away. Well done. All right, guys, all done. Go ahead and wrap up, clean up, put your tools away. And I really do love this kit. They have it for multiple cars, but obviously we're installing this beautiful G87. You can tell the install itself is not all that hard and only takes a few simple tools, and it just takes some time and patience. And you will need that laptop as well in almost every case. So Infinite Autowerks can actually code your car to make the lights work. But all in all, you can tell this looks really, really good and is a cool addition to the car. Thank you to Infinite Autowerks for making such a cool product, and they make other lighting products potentially to put into your car, so make sure to check that out. Please make sure to click like and subscribe. It makes a big difference to my channel, and I would truly appreciate it. And then you get notifications of upcoming events, new car reviews, new DIYs, you name it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you on my next project.